Danger Dolan. From various motion control devices to a plank of wood attached to a controller, we count 15 of the least useful gaming peripherals ever made.
Number 15.
The Xbox 360 speaker comm. There was this weird phenomenon on the 360 voice chat where if you set voice communication to go through your TV's speakers, all you could hear was a mumbled garbage that could only be likened to a series of farts echoing through a tin pipe. Well, this device was supposed to fix that problem. It plugged into your controller and played the voice over a small speaker, as well as having an external microphone and a set of crappy earbuds that fit more comfortably up your nose than in your ears. The main problem with it is that the external microphone recorded the audio playing from the speaker, causing a feedback loop, thus rendering the main function of the device as useful as a Mad Catz controller covered in Cheeto dust.
Number 14.
The Atari 2600 stick station. So the Atari joystick tended to give you cramps if you played it for too long, so a company named Sky Station released a peripheral that tried to fix this issue in a way so awkward that it makes the Xbox Duke controller look like the GBA Micro. They didn't make a more ergonomic controller, instead they implanted the joystick into a slab of wood so big that it required you to put it onto a coffee table. However, most people use the device under a table to keep it from wobbling. Of course, they probably didn't realize that the Atari joystick could have been put on a coffee table by itself quite easily and kept there with some tape or blue tack with pretty much the same result, but I guess they wouldn't leave you with a device that doubles as a doorstop.
Number 13.
Wii boxing gloves. Ever accidentally clock someone in the face while playing a Wii boxing game? If so, these gloves have been tailor-made to soften the blow, quite literally, since they are boxing gloves with a hole cut in them so that a Wiimote and nunchuck could fit in. The manufacturers of the gloves must not own a Wii because there's no window for the IR sensors, which dramatically reduces the accuracy of the motion controls. But on the plus side, the added frustration behind this will give you the motivation to go and box for real. The other issue is that you can't use any of the buttons, thus locking you out of any attack apart from the default one. Luckily, all of these issues can be fixed with a pair of scissors, but you're probably better off saving your $20 and spend it on boxing classes.
Number 12.
The Game Boy printer. There was a decent amount of fun to be had with the Game Boy camera, and it makes sense that you would want to print out the weird photos that you took, but it doesn't make any sense when the printed copy is about 1/10 of the quality of your average Bigfoot picture. To make matters worse, the printer runs on 6 AA batteries and requires thermal paper that gives you one color per type of paper. This device seemed to have entertained some because Neil Young decided to use a printout as one of his album covers, and the results are simply stunning. But luckily, your best friend's imagination will help fill in the blanks.
Number 11.
The PlayStation Jog-Con. Back when 3D gaming was coming into its own and analog sticks were becoming big, Namco decided to revolutionize racing controls with a turning wheel attached to a controller. However, most people who wanted a better racing experience simply bought a racing wheel with force feedback, a stick, and pedals, none of which were featured in the Jog-Con. Naming devices can't be easy, but it seems clear Namco just put 2 random syllables and called it a day. I mean, unless they originally wanted you to jog on a treadmill whilst controlling the game.
Number 10.
The Sega Mega Drive Action Chair. Have you ever wanted to control a game by leaning in your chair? No, me either, but it seems that Sega thought that someone wanted this since they made a weird and uncomfortable looking peripheral that did just that. This device was so unpopular that it never made it past the product testing stage, since it's rarer than a good modern rareware game. The way it works is that the chair and the obtrusive metal sticking out was attached to a giant joystick at the base. It's hard to imagine it not breaking whenever someone heavier than your average 13-year-old tries to use it.
Number 9.
The Nintendo Rollin' Rocker. Apparently LJN Toys thought that NES games were too easy because here comes yet another poorly made device designed to replace your directional movement. For some weird reason it never caught on. Could be due to the fact that people don't want to stand on a balance board to control a game. Oh wait, Never mind, maybe they should have released some fitness games to go with it. As if anyone had doubts, this remains proof that gaming companies were always obsessed with replacing the controller with actual body movement.
Number 8.
The Nintendo Power Glove. Flexing your hand has never yielded such lackluster results. The Power Glove worked by moving your gloved hand in various ways to control what happened on the screen. Shockingly enough, the Power Glove was considered a critical failure, and the games released for it did even worse. Maybe if they released a virtual pet patter or a masturbatory game, it would have done better, but we'll never know.
Number 7.
The PS2 Katana Soul Controller. So this controller is basically the same thing as a Wiimote, except a lot worse. Thanks to the awkwardly placed buttons on the controller, the poorly implemented motion controls, and the fact that you couldn't even use it for ritual suicide when you realize you wasted $190 on it. The general idea is that you swing the controller in order to get your character to attack in Onimusha 3. However, no matter which way you swing your weapon, your character will just attack the same way, and sometimes the motion controls simply don't work. The item was originally intended as a collector's item, and it would have sold a lot more if it actually looked like a sword instead of a video game themed vibrator.
Number 6.
The Alpha Grip AG5 for the PC. So people sometimes wish that there were more buttons on a controller to allow more actions to be performed, but I don't think anyone ever actually wanted a controller that has multiple buttons for each of your 10 fingers. The Alpha Grip AG5 is designed to be a keyboard replacement as well as a gaming peripheral, and while some have managed to get used to using it as a keyboard, very few have utilized all 6 million of its buttons in a video game, except perhaps Typing of the Dead. You'd think that there'd be a Googleplex of buttons, they would have added some analog sticks to help promote the video game side of things, but nope. Instead, they added a trackball, which is possibly the worst device to use in a video game that requires any level of precision.
Number 5.
The Activator for the Sega Mega Drive, the first attempt at full body mapping in a video game console, or at least that's what the advertising tried to make you believe. In reality, it was less effective at mapping your body movements than an 80-year-old with cataracts watching you and pressing the buttons in accordance to your movements. There was a sensor for each of the 8 inputs on the Mega Drive, so if you waved your hand above the C sensor, it would be the same thing as pressing the C button, as long as your ceiling was perfectly flat, opaque, had no fan on it, and didn't look at the activator in the wrong way. On top of everything else, you couldn't activate multiple buttons at once, so if you wanted to move diagonally, you were shit out of luck.
Number 4.
The e-reader for the Game Boy Advance was essentially a QR code reader before they really took off, and it was a cool idea at the time since it gave you the ability to play Nintendo Entertainment System games, add levels to Super Mario Advance, and a couple of other things. While it was considered successful in Japan, it didn't do nearly as well in the rest of the world. This was probably because in order to add items to Mario, you needed 2 Game Boy Advances and a link cable, which isn't exactly portable or financially viable for most people. Apart from the NES and Game & Watch games, there was only support for 4 different games, meaning the money spent on it was mostly wasted.
Number 3.
Wii Football. This is easily the dumbest idea ever thought of by Nintendo. Yes, that includes the cancelled Vitality sensor and the Virtual Boy that required you to take a break every 15 minutes to prevent possible blindness. Despite the wrist strap and the Nerf material, it's still a bad idea to make a ball that needs to be in front of a TV and not be thrown. The use of this peripheral can only end in so many ways. Funnily enough, each of those ways ends in either a broken screen or a black eye for some unfortunate passerby.
Number 2.
The HD DVD player for the Xbox. So this add-on isn't intrinsically flawed in any way whatsoever. What brought it down was the fact that HD DVDs had less support than the Betamax. Possibly the biggest downfall of the HD DVD was that it had 20 gigabytes less storage than the Blu-ray, as well as the fact that HD DVD is quite a bit harder to say than Blu-ray. The only positive side to the HD DVD player was that Microsoft decided to make it an optional add-on to the system instead of forcing the consumer to pay more for the ability to participate in a dead format.
Number 1.
Res Trance Vibrator for the PS2. It's a puck, small and black, attached to the PS2 via USB port, and was designed as an additional device to the game Res, where it vibrated to the beat of the music. I don't know about you, but the vibration of a controller doesn't exactly sound melodic in any way, shape or form, and the trance vibrator was even louder. Although this device did get some use by someone to enhance the experience of the game, it was not in the way it was designed. At least one girl put it between her legs and used it as a masturbatory aid despite the pleas from the developer to be wholesome. That's it for this countdown. And have a good one!